These developers should just do one thing. They should just shut up. They should. Some developers couldn't even help themselves. And now Battlefield 6 is one of them. Turns out one of the developers is being exposed. What was I saying? Oh yes, one of the developers, Battlefield 6, is now exposed. Now, again, even though we can't convince the Battlefield hardcore fans, which they're already attached to this, because right now they're facing their own problems, like, for example, COD streamer, and I don't know which one is worse. So I would say this, instead of saying to boycott or anything, perhaps we tell these people, yes, even though you can still play the game, but at the same time, you had to force every developers who worked on Battlefield 6 to shut up. This must be one of them. It says here, some ideologies are so repugnant, they don't deserve what Charlie Kirk engaged in, or in this case, was not in good faith. Okay, that's a typo, folks. That's a typo. It was inflammatory rhetoric designed to foment the kind of violence that took his life. Spare us your center-right pandering, Governor. Has anybody known this person is a former dev or current dev? Let me know in the comments.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me recently that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed from the channel, so make sure you check on that. And there's been a lot of talk recently about restricted mode being automatically enabled for a lot of users on YouTube, which would cut you off from a lot of your favorite channels. So don't forget to check into that as well and turn it off if it has been turned on and you don't want it. Anyways, let's dig into what's going on with Battlefield 6 and their ridiculous developer Brian Audette. This guy argues that Charlie Kirk didn't act in good faith, even though all Charlie did was talk with a bunch of people who hated him, and he never swore or insulted anyone, he just stood his ground.
That's true. Look, I watch a lot of reaction from Devin Gibson, okay? He did cover Charlie Kirk when he was in a debate with anything, and overall when I see it, he doesn't seem to be racist or perhaps swore anything. I mean, he looks like a decent people. Remember, I'm not defending here. Look, I also disagree with Charlie Kirk when it comes to the war in Palestine. Yes, the Israel and Palestine war, but at the end of the day, I do not advocate for his death. Let's just be clear on that one. Now again, Battlefield fans, they're not going to listen to this, okay? So what we're trying to do, first, get these developers to shut up, or in this case, tell these developers at Battlefield, or in this case, DICE or EA, if they have nothing to say on the matter of Charlie Kirk's death, then shut up. Yes, that's very simple. And secondly, again, I know it's irrelevant for this, but I think to all those Call of Duty streamers and shills, if you want your movement exploited or anything, play Call of Duty. Don't play Battlefield 6.
I guess people like this Brian guy just can't stand that Charlie Kirk was effective. But anyhow, let's take a look at some more of what this guy has been saying online. He wrote here,
I just can't with the people who are like, don't post those awful things that Charlie Kirk actually said just because he's dead. He said the things. It wasn't like he was in the process of trying to atone for anything. He was literally saying this shit up until the moment he died.
And do you guys remember what the last thing that Charlie was talking about? Someone asked him about the level of trans violence that we've been seeing lately in the country, and then he got shot by a trans person's radicalized psycho boyfriend. It doesn't seem to me like Charlie had anything to atone for. Since these people, though, are insistent on being stuck in their own self-made echo chambers, retreating to Blue Sky, for example, as soon as dissent was allowed on Twitter, but these echo chamber asshats clearly just hate you and think that you need to atone for the crime of saying things that prevent them from having power.
And it's the reason why many LGBTQ people have feel hated even more. The average, everyday, normal people, they don't care what you do in your private life, okay? No, they don't care. But the moment you force people, and I do mean the average, everyday citizen, into their throats, your private life, well, that's gonna be a problem because nobody wants it. No, so don't say that if you play Hogwarts Legacy, you're transphobia or transphobe. Yeah, that kind of boycott failed. And I'm 100% certain Hogwarts Legacy sequel will get more players. 1 million, despite the boycott. I know it's irrelevant, but I like to put it in. This is the problem when it comes to this radicalized, okay? I know most LGBTQ people, they just want to be noticed or at least accepted. These virtue signaling and radicalized idiots, they are making it worse. No, generally, I know most of you who is from the LGBTQ community, you don't like this radicalization. Do you not?
Anyhow, here is another post from this dingleberry in response to an MSNBC reporter being fired for blaming Charlie Kirk for his own death last week. Brian wrote here,
and people wonder why the mainstream media isn't reporting on the regime's atrocities on a daily basis. Even MSNBC is in their pocket. Mainstream media are fascist collaborators at best.
and you know what, dude? I agree. I think you idiots should all boycott mainstream media from now on. Not because what you said is true, mind you, but because it is so categorically false that it would be riotously hilarious to watch your own propaganda machine evaporate right before your eyes. A cursory 10-second Google search tells me how full of shit this guy is. It brought me this study which tells us,
I know Dr. Disaster is going to read this, and it says here, a study by Media Research Center analyzed major network coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC during Trump's first 100 days in office, found that 92% of coverage was negative. So this study examined 1,841 statements by journalists, anchors, reporters, and experts, focusing on the content of 899 stories aired during the evening news broadcast. Topics such as tariff, Department of Government Agency, DOGE, you know what, let's just call them DOGE, and illegal immigration reportedly featured prominently in the negative coverage, highlighting opposition to Trump's position and policy. For comparison, the same organization found that coverage of Joe Biden, the first 100 days, was 59% positive. Is that true, folks? This last one, 59% positive for Joe Biden. Tell me something. Tell me if you know about that. Let me know in the comments. The question is, who watches the mainstream media anymore? Now, generally, folks, which one of you, or in this case, you know what? Let me rephrase that. When was the last time any of you watched the mainstream media such as Fox News, CBS, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, or Clown News Network, whatever it is?
That on these mainstream news outlets that he's talking about, in Trump's first 100 days in office, 92% of the coverage of the administration was negative. Meanwhile, these same analysts show that 59% of the coverage for Joe Biden in his first 100 days was positive. But yes, tell me all about how the mainstream media is out to get you, ideologues. It's amusing to watch you squirm and grasp for straws to explain why the world at large is suddenly turning on you. It certainly couldn't have anything to do with your degenerate views on violence or anything like that. Nope, it's just that the world's out to get you. I hope you bozos run with that idea so that everything you believe in collapses into itself like a house with a shitty foundation. But anyways,
House of
you
Cards.
get the picture when it comes to this guy. He's the sort who blames Charlie Kirk for Charlie Kirk being killed. The message seems to be, well, don't say the things that we don't like, and you won't have to worry about violent monsters trying to take your life. Classic terrorist sentiment right there. But here is how the community managers are handling the outrage over on Steam, as you can see from this image.
Now, I think we should have seen this. Look, ever since the Helldiver debacle, the community managers, rarely any of them will help the gamers, okay? And I'm 100% certain that this kind of thing, if it goes to the up, there are times where the community managers is not going to help any gamers. So the best way you do is to go directly to either the CEO, the developers, everything. Don't go to the community managers, okay? They won't even listen. And this one proves it. Helldivers 2, do you remember the PSN requirement? Yeah, that's right. Many people got banned for that sort of comment or question.
On Steam, as you can see from this image, this person was banned from the Battlefield 6 community hub, and the post that he was banned for said simply, one of your devs on Blue Sky said Charlie's rhetoric led to the violence that took his life, fire them. And I think we can all agree that is a pretty damn tame post. There was no threat, there was no swearing, the guy wasn't being rude or anything like that. He simply made an observation and then made a request. but apparently that's unacceptable to the people putting out Battlefield 6. Under the spot for ban reason, they don't say anything. It is simply a permanent ban, as you can see from the bottom of this page. And in response to this, I have seen quite a number of posts like this one where it shows that someone has a refund request for their pre-order of Battlefield 6, and on a side note, this is a textbook case as to why you should never pre-order any game ever.
Yes, that's right. I never pre-ordered, but then again, don't forget, because right now the one thing that will do this is the hardcore fans, okay? These kind of people are the one thing that is difficult to convince because they're too attached to it. Right now, the hardcore Battlefield fans, another wave of their own enemy, the COD players. Yes, some people are now saying that, and I do mean the COD streamers, they say that Battlefield is now nerfing the movement exploit, and that is what, well, for Battlefield fans, they like it, but for COD players and COD shills, they hate it. And that's the thing, because you know what they say, make a game for everyone, meaning you make a game for no one.
Pre-order any game ever. But anyhow, I also wanted to read to you what this person wrote because it is definitely the way that you should speak when talking to these companies. It's the sort of language that they listen to. The guy wrote at the bottom there, reaching out to the support team, Battlefield 6 developer Brian Audette celebrated the death of an innocent man all over social media. Charlie Kirk was a non-violent debater that wanted to bring the country together and avoid civil war by debating. A violent maniac killed him for it, and evil people like Brian are celebrating it. If he does not get fired, I will not be playing your game or any games you make in the future. Battlefield 4 is my favorite game ever made. Been waiting for another modern Battlefield for 10 years, but still won't buy this because my morals are more important to me than one game. If you are celebrating the death of your political opponent, you are the problem. Now, he didn't curse or swear, he was polite, and he was straightforward. EA needs to see a whole lot more refunds, and they need to hear from people. You should reach out to EA on their help account over on X. I will leave a link in the description so you can do that, but yeah, this whole thing is really sad as hell, considering that Battlefield is set to kick Call of Duty's ass this year, and I'm sure they still will. One of the reasons that EA likely won't respond to this controversy is that this franchise is simply so big that it will sell millions of copies regardless of what was said.
First off, it's true. They will sell because there's hardcore fans, and convincing the hardcore fans about this is gonna be way tougher than anticipated. What we need is the average, normal, everyday citizen, okay? Yes, there will be hardcore fans. There will be some people who just want escapism. And if we can convince those people who just want to play games or something like that, and then that is a win for us. You can support this game, okay? You can buy it. One thing we're trying to do is to at least get these developers to shut up. But some developers, when it comes to this, they just couldn't shut up and like to keep running their mouth. I mean, unlike in Sweet Baby Inc., when they knew there's backlash after backlash, they just silent. And now, what I heard from Smash JT, they're coming back and they're pretending like it didn't happen. No, generally, they did. Sorry for a lot of cuts. There was a lot of interruption. I will also leave that support team in the description if I can find it. Yeah, I think they have it. Ah, yes, there is. I'll have that link in the description as well after I put the link to this video. Again, like I said, what we need to do is at least get that developer to shut up, at least for a moment, because this is what happens when you don't shut up. I mean, if I were a developer, anything, I would just tell everyone on my team, including myself, let's take a moment of silence. That's it. Flop or not, it all depends on the gameplay, okay? The question is, can Battlefield 6 run well both on PC and console? These are the one things that need to be important. I mean, yes, the controversy may not be relevant to the Battlefield fans or anybody, but if the game runs like dog shit, I wouldn't go that far. I think I would consider my stance on supporting EA. Yes, some of you still love Battlefield, but understand one thing. We want the developers who said that Brian guy, to shut up. If the game runs shit, I would consider my stance on supporting either Battlefield or EA. Reconsider it. I want all of you to reconsider if Battlefield 6 run like ass.
Well done, Griffin. Now we got this airfield secured, we can get a foothold on this island and start pushing the Japanese back. We're through retreating, lad. America's back in this war.
Despite the brutal climate and high number of enemy troops, the Marines, aided by U.S. soldiers and local inhabitants, were finally victorious. Later in the war, the Marines and their unique battle tactics would prove invaluable.